Assalamu alaikum.
Please be seated.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bilal Zubair, how are you, beta?
Sir, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Comfortable?
Yes.
Good. I have gone through your CV form. You have listed cricket and football as your favorite sports, and you have also remained captain of your college cricket team.
Yes,
correct?
Sir. Yes, sir. School's cricket team.
School, I stand corrected.
Right, sir.
May I ask you a couple of questions regarding cricket or both of these sports?
Sure, sir.
All right. I'll limit myself to cricket only. Beta, can you tell me who was Gary Packer and what was his contribution towards cricket?
Sir, I think he was an Australian player, but I'm not sure about his contributions.
Australian player?
I think, but I'm not sure about it. So I'm not really sure about his contributions towards cricket too.
बेटे फिर क्रिकेट तो आपका फेवरेट नहीं हो सकता स्पोर्ट. आज जो आप T20 देखते हो वन डे स्पेशली, उसमें जो चेंजेस हैं, कलर्ड यूनिफॉर्म, वाइट बॉल्स, लाइटिंग्स, 9 कैमरास लगे हुए हैं उनको रिकॉर्ड करने के लिए, वो सारी उसकी कंट्रीब्यूशन है. डे नाइट क्रिकेट उसकी कंट्रीब्यूशन है. ही वॉज नॉट एन ऑस्ट्रेलियन प्लेयर, ही वॉज द ओनर ऑफ ए टीवी चैनल. वो लंबी हिस्ट्री है, but we won't go into that. I expected you to know the answer to this, but probably that was before your time. ये पुरानी बात है. Okay, another question on cricket. There are 5 bowlers in the world who have never ever bowled a no ball throughout their career. वो कौन है? उनमें से 3 के नाम बता दो.
Sir, I'm not sure about this either.
एक पाकिस्तानी है. चलो मैं इतना ब्रॉड हिंट आपको देता हूँ. Who is that Pakistani?
If you allow me to guess, sir, he might be Imran Khan, maybe.
Okay, you're correct, but बेटे guess work से बात नहीं बनती है. 4 others, आपको नाम उनके कम ना कम 2-3 के तो आने चाहिए ना. Anyway, Kite Runner, one of your 2 favorite books. I have read the book, I have seen the movie also. What is the message that the writer is trying to convey in this book?
So the main message and the theme which I got from the book was that the writer basically at one particular point he gets one thing dawns upon him that when he's in the hospital, if you've read the book you might be familiar with the scene when he's in the hospital, his father is dying and his father is basically an antagonist basically, and he thinks that this is one place where I believe that the poor find their own God. So his belief in God is basically reinforced at that particular point. I think that is one of the major...
What is the message?
The message is that there is some upper force who is basically catering for the people who are poor as well. And we need to be believing in that too.
All right. Are there any countries in the world that do not recognize Pakistan? If so, please name them.
So I think Israel is one of them because we have not recognized them and they have not recognized us too.
और भी है कोई?
I'm not sure about them, sir.
All right, better tell me, why is Pakistan reluctant to recognize Israel? Shouldn't we accord recognition to this important country in the world, especially when our Middle Eastern friends have started doing so?
So basically, one thing is that we also got our two-nation theory principle, due to which our country was basically partitioned from India, is basically in conflict with Israel's occupation too. So our raison d'etre basically is that Israel is basically an occupying force on Palestinians. So if that solution is not, you can say, solved properly, we will not be recognizing them. Second thing is that Israel is definitely an important country, but you know that Israel is not the only country as well. There is an argument that we need to be building coalitions with Israel. We can build trading partnerships with Israel as well, but there are countries like India and China. We already have good relations with China, and we can have good relations with India too, which is right, you know, our neighbor. So instead of building coalitions with Israel and all that,
but we do recognize India, don't we? We are talking about recognizing Israel. Anyway, beta, there is a lot of talk and discussion going on in the country about according Gilgit-Baltistan the status of a province. There is also talk that people say that some elements say that if we do that, Pakistan will be it will impact Pakistan's stand on Kashmir. What are your comments on that?
Sir, there are two aspects to that, and definitely one of them is that India and international community accord Gilgit-Baltistan a part of Kashmir. And if we make Gilgit-Baltistan,
Don't you think it's part of Kashmir?
it is, sir. It is, but due to basically Gilgit-Baltistan is basically considered it wants to have become a fifth province of Pakistan, and if we accept it as a province, that means we will be accepting the de facto arrangement as Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan as our part and Indian occupied as their part as well. So that is one of the reasons why we're not according the status of a province to GB. Second thing is that this particular issue of Kashmir is supposed to be resolved through a plebiscite. Now that plebiscite is yet to be taken, and Pakistan believes that if Gilgit-Baltistan is accorded the status of province, those 1.2 million votes will be lost as they will be considered as Pakistani citizens and they will not be able to take part in that plebiscite.
Good. Okay, last question from my side. Pakistan is suffering from scarcity of water, acute scarcity of water. What measures would you suggest to overcome this scarcity of water apart from building of dams? वो तो obvious है ना, dams बना लो जी.
Absolutely.
उसके अलावा what measures would you suggest to overcome this scarcity?
So basically, I would discuss this in 3 points. There is a multi-pronged strategy which needs to be dealt to deal with this issue. One thing is the awareness program. We are wasting a lot of water. People need to understand the importance of this particular issue, that water is very scarce and we are now...
Okay. That's one.
That's one. Yes. Second one is that we need to be shifting our methods of agriculture as well. Currently, world is shifting towards drip irrigation and modern techniques of agriculture, which use very less water as compared to the...
Can you use drip irrigation for growing rice?
So no, that is one particular crop. Obviously, that needs flood, other water, but there are other crops too, which can be used through drip irrigation and sprinkle systems.
Sprinkler, shabash.
Yes, sir.
Or
and third thing is, sir, our basically in dyeing industries and textile industries, they are consuming a lot of our water too, and there are now modern techniques which require far less water to dye the exact amount of, you can say, cloth or to manufacture the textile products as well. So we need to convince our textile industries as well to shift to the modern methods of manufacturing processes, which will use very less water as compared to the current.
What do you think about lining of canals?
Yes.
Seepage बहुत होती है.
बिल्कुल sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
I was just going through your performer and last column, that is 21. You have mentioned 2 events, national and international events. Trump's election to the White House and Pakistan being placed on FATF's grey list. How do you think that with a change in American administration, Pakistan's prospects with regard to relation between Pakistan and America?
So basically, with Trump's, you can say, advent at the White House, all of a sudden things are starting to change, and you can say Trump is taking a very strong approach and cutting off all the, you can say, ties which Obama had made. For example, in the nuclear deal with Iran, Trump has decided to sever that as well. Trump has decided to come out of the Paris climate deal too. So this is going to have...
My question is with regard to Pakistan.
Right, sir. So with Pakistan, because I think
do you think there is any scope of improvement of relationship between Pakistan and America after coming into power of new president?
I think yes, definitely, sir. Whenever there is a new administration, there is always a chance to start from the start. Previously, we know that India has been accorded the status of the most favored nation as well, and American think tank is basically propping up India to contain China as well. Now there is a new administration in the White House, and but we need to be very strong diplomatically, and we need to lobby very strongly as well and put the case in a very clear and a lucid way.
Don't you think Democrats have been historically opposed to Pakistan?
Sir, I think there has been a mixture of, you can say, strategies by both Democrats and the Republicans. But as I mentioned before, whenever there is a new administration and when they have a specific manifesto as well. So Indian lobby is very strong and they are able to portray their ideas very articulately and very properly.
Suppose you are assigned the job in foreign ministry and as a representative of Pakistan, how would you defend the interest of Pakistan? Rather advocate and defend interest of Pakistan. Speak for 2 minutes on this issue.
First of all, I would try to bring the attention towards the issue of climate change. We're one of the most vulnerable countries which are hit by the climate change as well, and America plans to invest into this particular issue too. So we need to present them the ideas that we are very far less contributors towards carbon. We need some funds and we need some modern techniques which can be shifted towards our country as well. Second thing is the trade element. We can tell them that already there is a very large room of improvement of FDIs. Pakistan is a very good country. We are making some laws for ease of doing business as well. So why not invest in Pakistan with respect to renewable energy resources as well? Third thing is the Afghanistan issue as well. We can tell America that we can be basically very much helpful for you as far as you plan to withdraw the forces from America, and you cannot do that without our help. And we can provide you with proper intelligence and with the influence on Taliban
The
too.
current government has provided certain incentives to industrial sectors to boost exports. Are you aware of that package?
Sir, I'm not really exactly sure about the exact package, but I believe, if you allow me to guess, it's regarding the resumption, regarding relaxation in taxes, perhaps, and some other measures.
But there are various measures.
Right, sir.
Okay. Then tell me something about the corruption which is rampant in Pakistan, and government is clamoring to eradicate that. What do you think? How or what measures can we take to eradicate or to minimize this menace?
So to eradicate this corruption and to minimize it, either we need to be strengthening the institutions. The institution that there need to be certain mechanisms which need to be installed, and we can.
Which mechanism?
Yes, sir.
That is my question.
Right, sir. I would actually like to benchmark certain things from the private sector too. They have actually very strong laws and they have very strong principles, and you can say
Be specific.
Right, sir. For example, they have the whistleblowing laws. That is very much clear. The person who is actually, you can say, pointing out to some malpractices in the system, he is given the immunity and given some incentives.
Don't you think that technology introduction and more use of technology will reduce it?
Yes, sir. That was going to be the second point, the e-governance mechanisms. That will be very much important when all the transactions and all these things will be given online. The access will be given online and everyone would be able to check them as well, even common people. The accountability mechanisms will be strengthened itself.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bilal Zubair,
Yes, sir.
you are an engineer, such a high qualification you already have, and still you want to join civil service. What is the reason? Why do you want to change the profession altogether?
So there are basically two main reasons for that. One thing is that civil service ultimately provides you very much empowered. You are actually empowered to serve the people in the true sense. But in engineering sector, yes, you do get very good jobs as well, and I've worked in two multinational companies too. But your scope is quite limited. Here, you can say scope of work and the ability to provide relief and service to the people is very vast.
If I say that the scope in civil service is limited and you have a wide scope as far as private sector is concerned, what do you say about that?
So I would rather disagree with that because when you are appointed, let's say for example, as an assistant commissioner, you have multiple ways in which you can directly relate to the people and you are linked with the people directly and their problems. Whereas while you are working as an engineer, yes, you are producing certain things and you are adding value to certain instances, but again, you're working at a very, you can say, particular and a very specific industry. And one more thing which I would like to add to this is that on your personal level as well, the capacity building ability in civil service is quite large. On daily basis, you are facing dynamic and different kind of challenges, and that is ultimately adding to your own personality too. And I think this is why one of the reasons. And third thing is job stability. Job stability is a very important, you can say, element on my personal level too. And civil services provides you with that. In private sector, it is rather unstable.
You come from Lahore, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what are the biggest problems of big cities of Pakistan, and do you have any suggestions and recommendations to eradicate those problems?
So first biggest problem which I see is urbanization, because all the bigger cities have the maximum, you can say, facilities, and that attracts the people from other areas too. And that is why they are rapidly moving towards the bigger cities, and Lahore is one example too, and that is why it is expanding more and more. This is ultimately going to result in governance issues and you can say space issues too. So that this needs to be addressed, and this can be addressed in a way that.
Can you identify the problems?
Yes, sir.
One by one?
Right, sir. So in my opinion, there are three big problems. First is urbanization. Second is the water issues. And third, if you talk about Lahore, the smog issue, and that is related to the climate as well. If we talk about urbanization, we need to be providing facilities to other cities as well so that urbanization is curbed. And second element is that population is very much expanding too, and we need to raise awareness campaigns how to stop population
Now,
explosion.
similar problems are seen even in rural areas also. Then how do you associate these problems only to urban area like Lahore?
So because population is definitely an issue which is most likely more in rural areas as compared to urban areas, but the major toll because of this hefty population is coming towards the urban areas because of the urbanization. Most people move and migrate towards the urban areas because of the lack of facilities in the rural areas.
Okay, what is third law of Newton?
So action and reaction are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction.
Can you relate it to something in practical life?
I'm not exactly sure. Are you talking about some social issues or
No, scientific.
So it is, you can say, seen everywhere. For example, rocket propulsion. Every particular phenomena is moving towards that. If we actually bounce the ball towards the wall, it comes back due to that particular reaction as well. Yes, some energy losses are, you can say, there. For example, friction. For example, due to some air friction as well, and the contact with the, you can say, wall. But it is always there, you can say, because everything is. For example, this particular table is placed on the, you can say, on the floor. A reaction force is there from the floor as well, and one particular force is applied by the table on the floor.
Okay, Mr. Bilal, analyze the relations of Pakistan with its neighbors like Iran, Afghanistan, India, and China.
So relations with China have always been really good, and they've got another boost because of the projects like CPEC and the other projects. And I believe they're going to be reinforced as well in the future as well because of the future nexus between America and India, which basically America is trying to prop India against China as well. So China understands the importance of Pakistan, and Pakistan understands the importance of China as well. As far as India and Afghanistan are concerned, so relationships with both these countries have not been really good. With India, Kashmir has been one of the major bone of contentions, and that particular issue needs to be resolved if the relations between these two countries are to be improved. With Afghanistan, there has been the issues of Taliban is there, the issues of terrorism is there, and there has been very, you can say, contradictions between both the countries, but the relations have not been good. With Iran, I think the strategy of Pakistan has mostly been seen with the lens of USA as well. When USA has imposed sanctions on Iran, we have halted all the trade with Iran as well, which includes the gas pipeline projects too. But once the relations with America has been improved, our relations with Iran have been improved too. But you can say the relations with Iran have been fairly stable when we compare it to Afghanistan or India.
What's a cash crop?
So I believe cash crop is one of those crops in which are basically exported to the other countries in order to get the revenues.
Can you name 2-3 cash crops in
cotton,
Pakistan?
I believe cotton is one of them, but I'm not sure about the others.
Okay. Can you tell us certain steps which government of Pakistan has taken to upgrade the life of transgender?
Sir, as far as you can say transgenders are concerned, certain rules are being, you can say, made so that they can be incorporated into government services, and there's a particular quota as well for transgenders. And now, there is a awareness campaign not by the government too, but from the, you can say, NGOs and civil society as well to incorporate them into the mainstream society.
Okay, where is the location of Thal Desert?
So Thal is, if you allow me to guess, I think it is in Bahawalpur.
No. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bilal Zubair, you have studied sociology as one of your optional subjects.
Yes, sir.
What are the 3 perspectives of sociology?
So three perspectives of sociology are structural, functionalist. There's a critical perspective as well, and there's the interpretive perspective of sociology.
Symbolic interactionist,
Yes, sir.
conflict perspective.
And the structural functionalist.
Okay. Explain the structural functionalist school of sociology.
So basically, structural functionalists consider the society as a part of a system. You can say a complex system in which different parts are interacting with each other in order to do the desired work. I would like to explain it with an example of a car. A car has different, you can say, components, let's say tires, let's say engines, although all of them are not equal, but they are contributing towards the car as well. So structural functionalists believe that every specific individual, every specific class or the gender as well has a certain role to play, and that role needs to be assigned to that particular class so that society progresses as a whole.
So, what is the contribution of Herbert Spencer to sociological thought?
So Herbert Spencer basically was again a structural functionalist, and he basically compared you can say society with that of an organism. And he believed that societies are complex and organisms are complex as well, and they evolve from smaller to the bigger you can say size.
Okay, since you have worked with packages, so shed some light on the work of Frederick Taylor.
Right, sir. So Frederick Taylor basically gave the concepts of time and motion, time study basically. He basically standardized the jobs of certain people by analyzing how much time does it take to perform a certain task of work. So basically, he conducted that particular study, that how much standardized time is required, and then assigned that particular time to a particular task. That what resultantly basically when you can say when a product was being made, that was being made on a particular time, and a specific lead time could be, you could say, calculated afterwards.
So it led to greater efficiency,
yes,
specialization.
Sir. Yes, sir, absolutely. Standardization of the work as well.
Right. In your view, will Pakistan come out of grey list of FATF? You know, there is going to be a review meeting in February next year. Recently, I was reading in the newspaper an article which was very heartening that Pakistan has shown satisfactory compliance in 21 out of 27 areas. So in which 6 remaining areas Pakistan still needs to do more to come out of the grey list?
Right, sir. So, in my opinion, Pakistan would come out of the grey list in the next review as well, because as you mentioned before, we've already complied to almost 75% of the action plans. Now, only 25% of them are left. The points which are left are basically dealing with the implementation of the mechanisms which have already been installed. Initially, we were told that we need to strengthen our laws so that we can combat anti-money laundering, we can combat financing of terrorism as well. We've done that, and now they want us to prosecute the certain people who fall into these laws as well. So we are basically falling behind as far as our implementation is concerned. Now in February as well, basically we are being told that there is going to be another review as well, and the president of FATF, Marcus Player, has already praised Pakistan's contribution towards that too. And now Pakistan needs to be diplomatically, sending its message very clearly that we have, you can say, complied to most of the action plans. Implementation is definitely weak, but there are some local dynamics too. So if you think that our implementation mechanisms are weak, either grant us some interim period if you're not permanently taking us out of the grey list so that we can comply to these mechanisms, but our economy needs to be strengthened in that way.
Bilal Zubair, in case Pakistan remains on the grey list, what would be the negative implications?
So first thing is your international image. We claim that our issue of Kashmir is there. India is, you can say, having abusive human rights there, abusing the human rights there as well. So if India claims that Pakistan is perpetrating terrorism too, so that reinforces their own claim as well, that we are the country who are financing the terrorism. So that hurts us diplomatically internationally. Second thing is, sir, investors coming into Pakistan as well, they'll be, you can say, very much reluctant to invest into Pakistan as well, because there will be certain checks and balances which will be because of the fact that we're on the grey list will be imposed in Pakistan. So investors always like to invest in those places where there is an ease of doing business as well. So that will hurt us economically too. And there will be obviously more checks and balances on our banking systems too. So ultimately that will...
So investment hates uncertainty.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay. 2 countries have been taken out of grey list. Could you name those 2 countries?
Sir, I believe it was Iceland. One of them was Finland, but I'm not sure about the other one.
Iceland and Mongolia. Last question from my side. What are some of the steps taken by the government for women emancipation in administrative terms as well as in legislative terms?
Sir, as far as the legislation is concerned, we have, as far as administration is concerned, we have established VAWCs where you can say women can, complain, and then there are, you can say, in the concept of violence against women, they can complain and go to those centers and seek help from there too. There have been laws as far as the anti-harassment laws as well, because whenever there is a harassment case in the you can say office. Women can complain to that, and there's going to be a certain board which will be set and hear the inquiries too. So there are certain harassment laws now in place too. And as far as this is basically on the administration as concerned.
Women Ombudsman, Office of the Women
Yes, a
Ombudsman
woman
is there.
ombudsman is there as well.
There is a 10% quota for women in civil service. They have been given more seats. So government has taken many steps,
Yes, sir.
both administrative and legislative. Yes, you were coming to legislative steps.
So these are basically, you can say, because of the legislations that now we are going to be, you can say, there is going to be specific punishments for, you can say, people who are committing the acid crimes as well. There is going to be certain amount of punishment which is going to be regarding the harassment as well. And even in the, you can say, in bazaars or, the teasing element was there. Now there are certain laws in place. I do not really know the exact laws, but I've read them that there were laws person who is offending these things will be punishable.
So what is the international perception about this issue? I mean, there is a global parity, gender parity report. So what is Pakistan's international standing on this issue?
So Pakistan's international standing is quite low, and Pakistan is probably the second worst country when it comes to the women too, as far as the report is concerned of what Women in Economic probably Forum's report was there, that Pakistan is the second worst country. Pakistan is taking steps, but the patriarchal attitudes and you can say the specific mindset of the people are still yet to be changed, which is obviously going to take some time, and that will gradually change once the education seeps in, because our literacy rate is still very low.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Bilal Zubair, well done, bete. I think that ends your interview with us.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now that the interview is over, let's consult each other and try to compare notes about the gentleman. Let me start with you, sir.
Sir, I think he speaks a bit too fast, as a result of which sometimes he minces his words and does not pronounce it clearly. Similarly, on the issue of corruption, he couldn't give any analytical answer. But on the whole, I think his communication skill, considering his reasonable good communication skill and eye contact, I think he should be given at least above 60.
Okay, thank you.
I think he appears to be a good candidate, and he was in a position to analyze various issues posed to him, and especially on current affairs, international affairs. And then he could speak very well, though he was speaking a bit fast. But naturally, when a young man like of his age is there for such a forum, it is bound that he is likely to commit some of the things which are otherwise not expected. But he was confident, he spoke very well, and he came up to the occasion. Now, we cannot expect him that he would be knowing each and everything, but we are going to ask from him. Otherwise, he appears to be an all-rounder. He is a good candidate. And the way he presented himself here, I recommend that he must be awarded about 65 to 70% mark.
Thank you. Kamran sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to support the viewpoint just presented by my worthy colleague. He was confident, decent, mature. His hand movements were quite restrained, good eye contact, good posture. He exhibited a reasonably good knowledge base and a rational bent of mind, a critical understanding of issues. He was articulate, his content was good, delivery style was good. He was mentally robust, emotionally stable, quick on the uptake, handled pressure quite well, clear-headed and focused. I think he deserves close to 70% marks, between 65 and 70%.
Well, I agree with most of